Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 was a pretty decent movie. And, I saw it at midnight last night, and it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, the midnight experience tends to be a lot better than regular experiences, just because you're surrounded by a bunch of fans. And I'd like to mention that there are 3 kinds of fans who dress up for midnight showings, particularly for Harry Potter. Arguably 4, but we're going to discuss 3 first. So you have the first kind, which are the fucking hardcore people. They have, like, the entire costume thing all worked out for, you know, like, the original stuff. It's, like, perfect. It's a little intimidating. Just a little bit. Anyway, then there's number 2, the category I was in, which is slutty girls. They're like, I can be a schoolgirl tonight? Yay! And then there's category 3, which were people who were like, hey, I have a shirt that says Harry Potter on it. I'm gonna wear it. Yeah. And there's arguably the 4th category, which is people who come to Harry Potter dressed up like Star Wars characters, who might be my favorite cosplayer. Definitely. Anyway, what I think is amusing about Harry Potter is that, like, most of the people who see midnight showings are obviously, like, adults now. Like, they've been around since Harry Potter originally came out. So it's kind of funny, because you have a bunch of, like, 20, like, it's mostly, like, college students who, like, actually see it at midnight because they want to. Like, there are very few children there. Pretty much none, actually, I'm gonna say that. I mean, one thing, it's midnight, but for another thing, it's just, like, these are the people who are still really, really into Harry Potter. It's kind of funny. Anyway, so for the movie itself was actually, like, really pretty decent, like, especially compared to other shitty Harry Potter movies. Yeah, they kept to the book really well, which I thought was good, because, like, none of the other movies have done that pretty much at all. I mean, admittedly, they had more time to keep to the book, because it's, you know, was split in half, but I think that was a good choice on a lot of areas. Gave them more time to develop everything that they left out from the other movies, because they didn't realize, oh, this might be important. Maybe. You don't doubt J.K. Rowling. She's a little weird. But whenever she foreshadows something like 5 books ahead of time, you should probably keep an eye on that shit. Another thing about Harry Potter is, like, even aside, like, you know, the actors, they're, like, okay, but they're child actors, you know, they're not going to be that great. They were selected for their acting skill when they were, like, 11, and they're, like, 20 now or something. Ugh. Anyway, so, like, the acting isn't that great. Whenever they try to do something, like, really emotional, you're like, I'm gonna laugh at this, because it's a little funny. I'm not feeling it at all. I mean, other things that were actually pretty good. Like, the action scenes, they were, like, okay. I mean, you're not seeing it for the action scenes. You're seeing it because it's Harry Potter, and you're thinking, oh, that was in the books. I remember seeing that. This is a cool way they're doing it. Like, that's the entire point of seeing it. Some props to them is that I really liked the costumes. Like, the costumes were really good, I thought. They were all, like, you know, I liked the costumes that they started doing since, I think the 4th one had okay costumes. Like, the costumes actually got really good in the 5th one, because everyone got, like, all weird and quirky and, like, very visually impressive, and I like that sort of thing. It's like in, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events movies. Like, the costumes in that movie are just beautiful. I love the costumes in that movie. But, this one actually had really good ones. Like, I love that they have the exact same love affair I have with vests. Like, seriously, half the time guys are wearing vests, and that's perfectly acceptable to me. Men should wear vests more often. And then they had, like, other interesting things that they were doing, you know, they had, like, obsessions with pinstripes, which is also suitable. Yeah. Can't really say anything about the plot, because, you know, you've read the book probably, or you haven't, and you don't care, and you're not going to. It's just that simple. Another thing about the costumes that I really liked were the Snatchers. They were just ridiculously good-looking with, like, their clothes. Like, okay, the main Snatcher was my favorite. His name is Vest McPlatterson, because he had, like, these plaid pants that were just, like, a little too tight, but I was okay with the tightness, and he had, like tucked into, like, these boots, and then he had, like, this vest he was wearing that had, like, these, like, knobby things going down. It was pretty hot, I'm not gonna lie. He had, like, 2 kinds of plaid on at any given time. He had, like, this scarf he had, like, wrapped around his neck, and he'd, like, wander around the forest, like, being like, oh, I'm just fabulous. I can smell things with my nose. Anyway, he was sexy. I appreciated him a lot. I think, like, overall, a lot of the, acting got better in, like, the regards of people who weren't important. Like, people who had nothing to do with the plot actually were pretty good actors, but people who are, like, main characters kind of sucked. Like, I laughed, but everyone else in the theater would laugh too, because they're like, wow, this is pretty terrible. Now, another thing I liked about it was, they had, like, this animation scene in the middle of the movie. Like, the animation scene, like, totally didn't fit with, like, the feel of the movie. You're just like, animation, what are you doing here? This is Harry Potter. We have magic already. Like, if you think of the animation scene that they had in the context of the movie, it was kind of stupid. But if you look at the animation scene as a separate entity, I really liked it. Like, the art was really pretty. I thought the way they presented it was really cool. I thought it was a really cool animation scene. It just didn't belong in a Harry Potter movie, you know? Like, some things can get away with having a random animation scene to, like, show a point. But a lot of times, you have to be crazy. Like, you know, the animation scene in, Kill Bill Volume 1 for the, Oren Ishii, like, that really flowed well, because they had, like, different animation styles for each part of time in her life, and that was just the kind of movie it was. They tell you the backstory. It isn't like, oh, we're randomly going to illustrate this backstory. I mean, I can understand in the movie why they did the animation, because it was just easier and more visual to tell people, because they understand that children are seeing these movies. But, like, that's one of the main flaws with Harry Potter. The movies, not the books. Like, the books, like, as Harry Potter ages, the content of the book ages with him. Like, the maturity level stays the same age as Harry. So, like, if you're 15 and you're reading, Order of the Phoenix, you really get it. You really enjoy it, because that's what you're feeling when you're 15. But if you read the same book and you're, like, 11, or you read the same book and you're 20, you're not going to get it the same way. Each book is meant for that specific age, and it really keeps to it real. I think that's one advantage of J.K. Rowling's writing style. However, the books are not the movies. Like, the movies were a little confused, I would say. Yes, emphasis on the ed in confused. Like, they kind of have, like, the first ones, which are just childish and stupid as shit. And then they have, like, the third one and kind of the fourth one where just, like, that weird in between. They're like, we're trying to be artistic, but still children's movies. So it loses so much of the original momentum. And then you have, like, you know, the fifth one who, like, suddenly is like, we're gonna be fucking adult movies, god damn it. And so they do, like, all this stuff to try and make it so hardcore and adult. But it's still essentially a children's movie. Like, most of the people who are seeing it are people, like, my age. But they're still casting it a lot as children's movies, which makes sense because they're children's books, except that's not the current frame anymore, necessarily. Like, it depends on who you are. At least that's my perception of it. So, I thought they should have done a better job of getting the adult and the child mixed together well. Like, you have, like, the Toy Story movies do an excellent job of getting at an adult level of humor while at the same time staying at a level that's funny for children. Like, they do an excellent job of keeping the two together, and Harry Potter doesn't do a particularly good job. Either you're going to be an adult and you're going to be, like, slightly bored, or you're going to be a child and be like, there's a snake! I like snakes! Or something like that. Incidentally, I do not like snakes. Snakes are not my friends. They need to stop. Also, incidentally, they had, like, a random, like, Twilight reference for no reason in the movies, which was kind of funny, but silly. Like, you basically had to be in on it, but, like, in 10 years, everyone's gonna be like, this is stupid, but, you know, you enjoy it at the moment because it's, like, 2:30 in the morning and you're pretty much dead at that point in time in the movie. So you're like, Twilight? They're making fun of Twilight, but kind of not making fun of Twilight at the same time. Okay, I'll take it. Anyway, so the entire thing is just kind of ridiculous, but I thought it was a good movie. I would pay for it. I would get my mother to pay for it more accurately. And, yeah, it was accurate to the movies, and I thought it was good. I forgot to mention that there was, like, this awkward dance scene in Harry Potter that made me feel really, really good about my own dancing abilities, because Harry Potter sucks at dancing. He sucks major amounts of dancing. He's just like, cha, da, ladies. And it's just like, wow, this makes a 5-year-old look like really skilled, and it makes me feel like, psh, if he dances like this and ladies think he's sexy, psh, I can go out and dance like this and be a champ. Anyway, it didn't really make sense in the movie, but it was funny and it made me feel good about it myself, and so I thought you should know. Yes. See you, Space Cowboy.